By the time you finish this video, you will have built a sleek, minimalistic e-commerce application with Next.js 15, TypeScript, MongoDB, and Tailwind CSS. No unnecessary fluff, just straight up practical stuff you can actually use. We are covering server actions, route handlers, database connections, basically everything you need to get a reward application up and running. If you've been hearing about all these Next.js 15 features but haven't actually tried them in a proper project, then this is for you. And yes, we are keeping things minimal but structured step-by-step building with explanations that actually make sense. Finally, you will learn how to deploy your application so that you can share your live link with your family and friends. So without wasting time, let's get started. I have my empty VS Code right here, and of course the first thing we have to do is to install Next.js. So I'm going to open my terminal, Ctrl J. Then after that I'm going to say npx create -next -app at latest. Enter. Yes. What is my project named? I'm going to leave it as my app. Would I like to use TypeScript? Yes. ESLint? No. Tailwind? Yes. Source? No. App router? Yes. Double pack? Of course. No. And yeah, it's going to install all this for me. It's going to install React, Next, TypeScript, or other dependencies as well. Okay, now that we have everything installed, the next thing is to run our development server. So to run our development server, the first thing I have to do is to go to this folder here, my app. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say cd my-app, click on enter, and then I can come here and say npm run dev, and it's going to start the development server at localhost 3000. So I can click on this and it will take me to my Next.js application. Okay, yeah, so to get started, we can get started by editing the app/page.css, which is going to be our home page. So back in our code here, we'll go to app, then page.css. Then I can reduce my terminal here, can reduce it. And then for this one, I can just come here, clean everything. I can just put a div, then I can say home page, just like this. Ctrl S, then if I check, I'll just have the home page. So now that we have gotten everything working perfectly, we are going to build our navigation bar. To do that, in the root folder, which is this my app, I'm going to create another folder called components, where I'm going to put all my components. In this component, I'm going to create a new file. I'll call this navbar.tsx because we're using TypeScript. And then arrow-fce, I have the extension to create this boilerplate. Now this navbar, if I go to my home page, you won't see it because I haven't put it anywhere. We are going to put this navbar in our layout, not in our home page, because we want the navbar to be consistent throughout all the pages, which means if we go to a new route, we'd still need our navbar there instead of adding it in every page. So I'll go to my layout.csx here, and then before these children, I'm going to put my navbar just like this. And then when you go back to your home page, you should see your navbar here and see your navbar here. Okay, now let's go back to our navbar component and start designing it. Okay, in this navbar, I'm not going to use a div. I'm going to use a nav, HTML semantic stuff. I'm going to use a nav, and then I can have a div here. Inside this div, I'm going to have a link which is going to link to the home page. Like for my logo, I'm going to say link from next/link, and then I'm going to say this should be called Z watches. href, it should link to the home page, just like this. Then under this link, I'm going to create a new div. Inside this div, another div. We are going to create the search bar. So here, let me just put a comment here. Here is going to be for the search icon. Then under the div, I'm going to have my input. Under this search icon div, I'm going to have my input. So I'm going to say input, just like this. Then give it a type of text and a placeholder of search. Let's see what we have so far. Yeah, nice. Now under this div here, under this one, we're going to create a button which is going to link to our add product page. So I'm going to say I'm going to create a link first. It should link to our add product page. So I'm inside the link rather, I'm going to create the button. So button, just like this. The link should go to the add product page, which we haven't created yet, but just so you know, add product page. And then this is the button. I'm going to say add product, just like this. Add product. Yeah. So now we can start designing. So to design this stuff, we're going to go to our nav tag at the top. Our nav tag at the top. Then you're going to give this nav tag a class name, or give it a padding in the x direction of 4. And then for like tablet screen sizes, you're going to give this a padding x of 12, and then a padding y of 4 for bigger screen, padding y of 6, and then give it a background color of white and a text of black, just like this. Let's see. Yeah. The next thing, under this div here, where we have our logo, and we have the logo, we have the search stuff, and we have the button to add a product. This div, which covers them all, we're going to make it flex. So I'm going to come here and say class name, give it a class name of flex, and then justify between, then items center, to center it in the vertical direction, just like this. And yeah, perfect. Then in the link component, which is for the logo. So for mobile screen sizes, we don't want this to be active, so we'll make this hidden for mobile screen. And then for medium screen sizes and above, we're going to make it inline block, just like this. And then give it a bigger text-lg, and a font of semi-bold, just like this. Yeah. Now going to our search bar, this div which covers the search icon and the inputs. Or let me add the search icon first. To get the search icon, we're going to use Lucid React. So let me check that out. Lucid React, Lucid Dev something. Then I'm going to come here and say search. Yeah. So this icon, I'm going to copy the JSX, and then I'm going to replace it. I'm going to put it here. Now we have to install Lucid React for that to work. So I'm going to close my terminal, Ctrl+C, Y, and then I'm going to say npm install Lucid -React or something like that. Okay, now after installing, we're going to start our development server back again, npm run dev, and we can reduce this as well. And we're going to import this. Yeah, import search. Let me show you. Import search from Lucid-React, and then we can save, and let us check our development. Let's check our let's reload. you can see the search icon here. We're going to arrange that. So to arrange this, we're going to be using positioning, that is relative and absolute stuff. So we'll go to this div here, which covers the search icon and the input field. We're going to give this div a class name. We're going to make it relative and then give it a max width of let's say 300 pixels, max dash width of 300 pixels. And then for bigger screen sizes, medium screen and above, we're going to give it a width of 400 pixels. 400 pixels, just like this. Let's see. Okay. Then the div under this, the div for the search icon, I'm going to give this a class name. Not children, class name, and then this one should be absolute. Absolute. And then it should have an insert y of 0, insert y of 0, yes, of course, and then it should start at 0. Give it flex, then let's say items dash center, item center, then ps of 3, and then give it a pointer event of none. Exactly. So let's check. You can see it has gotten inside the search bar, inside the search inputs. So we have to work on the search inputs. Or before that, let me reduce the width and height of this. I can give it a class name, give it a width of 4 and a height of 4, so that it will appear smaller. Yeah. So now let us go to the search bar input itself. We're going to give that input a, let's say, let me come here and say class name. I'm going to give it a height of let's say 36 pixels, 36 pixels, and then I'm going to make it relative, because we have this input here, we have this search icon rather, so I want to make it relative, and then we'll give it a padding left of 10 so that it can accommodate this this icon here. Give it a padding left of 10 and give it a border of 1 pixels. 1 pixel should be okay. A border of 1 pixels. Then we shouldn't make it that black, so we'll reduce the blackness, something like that. So say border dash black, we'll make it black, but then it should have an opacity of 0.7, just like that. And then it should have a small text, then rounded, it should be rounded a little bit, rounded dash 8 pixels. 8 pixels should be okay. Give it a full width to take the full space, and a padding y of 2, padding x of 3. Give it a focus outline. When it is focused, the outline should still be none. Outline dash none, outline dash none, and then it should have a transparent background, bg dash transparent, just like this. So let us see what we have. Yeah, perfect. Now after this, the next thing we're going to work on is the add product button. So we're going to give this button here now, this one, give it a class name, give it a background color. It should have a like dark color, so 212529, and then when hovered, or we can leave the hover stuff, give it a text of white, and then padding in the x direction of 3, padding y of 2, then should be rounded to a little bit, rounded dash md, just like this. Yeah, and if you can see, this pointer, it should be cursor, so I'm going to come here and say cursor pointer. Where is pointer? Yeah, yes. So when I click on this add product, it should take me to slash add dash product. So if I click on this, yeah, it will take me to slash add dash product, but we don't have that page yet. That is why it is giving me a 404 error. But now, even though we are in this page, you can see that the navbar still remains on the page. That is a function of putting your navbar in layout.csx instead of putting it in your home page. you put it in your layout so that it is consistent throughout all pages. Okay, now let us go back to our home page to continue working on the home page. So the next we're going to work on is, I don't like this font, so we can change this font. I think the Lato font will be better. So to change a font in Next.js, we're going to go to our layouts.tsx, and then if you notice, we are using this font called, I think, Sans or Gist Mono. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I don't like the font, so I prefer to use Lato. So I'm going to get rid of this. Then I'm going to say const Lato will be equal to capital Lato. Import this from next font/Google. Yeah, this one. So I'm going to say Lato, and then I'm going to give it a subset of Latin, like this, and then I'm going to define my weights. So this should have a weight of 100, 300. You can see it at the top here. I've already defined it for you. 100, 300, 400, 400, 700, and 900, just like this. Now we can use this in our site by calling lato.className. Now instead of this gist_mono.variable or gist_stuff.variable, we're going to get rid of this and then create our own and call it lato.className, just like this. Save this, and let's see. Yeah, if you notice, the font changed successfully. Yeah, that is perfect. So now let us go to designing the hero section. So we'll go to designing the hero section now. So we'll go to our components. We are going to create a new file. We are going to name this hero.csx. Now this hero.csx, I'm going to create the boilerplate. Then I'm going to add, we are going to add this one to the page.csx, not in layouts, because we just need it in the home page, and this page.csx is your home page. So I'm going to come here and say hero, yes, hero, just like this. Import it from components/hero, and when I save and come back here from home page, this should change to hero. Yeah, perfect. So we're going to design the hero now. We're going to go back to the hero component. Then this div should have a class name, and it should have a minimum height of 70 view width, minimum height of 70 view height, rather, not view width, view height. And for medium screen sizes and above, or yeah, medium screen size and above, it should have a minimum height of 60 view height, minimum height 50, or let's say 60 view height. And then for larger screen sizes, you have a minimum height of 90 view height, just like this. And then we're going to make it flex, give it a flex of column, flex/col. And for medium screen, we're going to make it row, flex-row, justify center, items -center, and of course the background color should be white, bg-white, and give it a padding x of 4. Then for medium screen size is padding x of 12, then text of black, just like this. You won't see much changes because we haven't done other ones yet. So now under this div, we're going to create another div. So we'll come here and say div. I want to, before writing the styles, let me define everything so you see what each style is about. Then inside this div, I'm going to create a h1 tag where we're going to put our h1 text. I'm going to call this timeless elegance on your wrist, timeless elegance on your wrist, just like this. Let's see. timeless elegance on your wrist. And then under this h1 tag here, I'm going to create a p tag, add this p tag, and then you can add our text, our small text, which is going to be discover our curated collection of premium watches crafted for those who appreciate sophistication and precision. Just like this, and we can check. Now under this, we are going to add our call to action button, our CTA button. So under the p tag, I'm going to have a link. This link will have a button. Then import the link from next/link. Then this link will have a button. This button will say shop the collection. Just like this. Then this should link to the product list. So I can just come here and say href will be equals to hash product. I'm going to give the product list an ID of product, so that is why it is going to work. And then let's check. Yeah, shop the collection. So let me design this first before going on, because we're going to be needing an image rather. So this div here, we'll give this div here a maximum width of 2xl. So I'm going to say class name max dash width of 2xl. Just like that. This is going to become smaller. Yeah, and then it becomes smaller. And then the h1 tag here, we'll give this a class name, give it a big text of 5xl, and a padding top of 6. Then for medium screen sizes, we are going to give it a padding top of 0, and then MD also, we are going to make the text bigger, text of 7xl. Then leading dash tight, it should be tighter, and then font of semi bold, just like this. Let's check. Yeah, perfect. Now for the p tag, we're going to give this a text color. So we'll come to the p tag here, give this a class name, text dash let's say hash 495.057. Just like an imagine top of 4. This will give this text a grayish kind of color with a margin top of 4. So let us see. Yeah, perfect. And then for the shop the collection button, we're going to design that as well. We're going to come here and say give it a class name, a margin top of 8. Then you should have a dark background, just like the button in the navigation bar. Hash 29212529, just like this. And then give it a text color of white, a padding x of 3, padding y of 2, rounded dash md cursor pointer, just like this. Yeah, perfect. So the next thing we'll do now is we're going to have an image by the side of this. We're going to put a watch image. So let's see, under this button, under this link, under this div here, I'm going to create a div for our image, and then we're going to use the image component from next image, this one. And then I'm going to be needing an image. So to do that, I get my images from splash.com. This is where I get all my premium images. So the images I'm using, I can just search for watch or something, wristwatch, to get my image. So I just want to just show you that, but I already have that. Yeah, this was the image I downloaded, and I removed the background using remove.bg. So now I'm going to add that image to the public folder so that I can use it anyhow I want it. So now this is the image here. So I've showed you how you can get your image from Unsplash. Then you can use remove.bg to remove the background. So we have this image now in our public folder. The next thing is to use it inside this image component. So here I'm going to say source. The source will be what? Slash hero dash img dot png, just like this. That is the name of our image there, and then we can give this an alt tag of img, just like this. So let us check how the image will be. Now you can see this error here. Image with source is missing the required width property. So to fix that, we are going to set the width and the height. So I'm going to come here and say width of, let's say, 500, and the height of 500 as well, just like this. Let us see if we still have that that stuff. Yeah, perfect. Everything works as it should. So let us check if it is responsive as well. So as you can see, it was at the side. Then as we reduce the screen size, it's going to turn to a vertical layout. Exactly. So the next thing we have to do now is to create the product listing page. And to do that, of course, we are going to go to our components folder here, then create a new file, product list.tsx. For this one, since we don't have a product yet, we are going to be using a dummy product. So I'm going to come here and say roafce get this stuff here, and then in the page.tsx I'm going to add it here, product list, just like this. And then in this product list, I'm going to say I'm going to create a fake product list. So I'm going to say const products is going to be an array of different, let's give it 3 products. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be an array of 3 products. This is just a fake product. So we're going to get the product list from the database. So I just want to just show you that. And then remember that we gave this hero section, this button here, a href to hash product, and this is the product list we're talking about. So we're going to give this an ID of product so that it can link to the place, just like that. Now inside this product list, I'm going to have a div which is going to be a grid system div, and inside this div I'm going to map through all my products. So I'm going to say product.map, give this product and index, product and products, product and index, just like this. And the product should be clickable, so that is why I'm going to have a link from next/link, and inside the link I'm going to have the product image. So I'm going to come here and say image from next/image, just like this. And then the source, we don't have the product image yet, so we're going to do the same thing, get an image from Unsplash or anywhere you can get your image from, and then you can use it, put it in your public folder, and then put it here just like a dummy image. So that's what I'm going to do now. So as you can see, I have added my dummy image. This is the watch image for my product list. So I can come here right now and give this a source of let's say /dummy img.jpg, just like this. Then you give this a width or an alt tag, not width, sorry, an alt tag of, let's say, img, and then you can give this a defined width of 1000 and a height of 1000. This link is giving me an error because I haven't put the href tag. This this will be a dynamic link, and we don't have a product list here, so we're going to make this a dummy link as well. So slash product slash it's meant to be the product ID, but I'm going to put 123 just for that. So let's check what we have. One issue. Okay, each child in a list should have a unique key prop. No problem. We're going to fix that right now. And as you can see, we already have the 3 images here because we gave it 3 products. So let us fix that one. Inside, we're going to give this a key of index, just like that. Now in this image, we are going to give this image a class name. Give it a class name, give it a max width of 17 rem, and then a height of 72. Object center, and then a rounded of LG, rounded dash LG. Just like this. Let us check how it looks. Yeah, perfect. But as you can see, or let me continue. Under this image, you're going to have a div which is going to contain, under this image you're going to have a div which is going to contain your product name and the product price. So let's go under this image here, create a div, add a div, and then for the product name we're going to put it in an h2 tag. We're going to just say a very good watch, and then we're going to have the product price, give it a p tag, a $sign, and then let's say this is $1,200, just like this, and then we can save this. Yeah, let us design this. So for this div here, we'll give it a class name. I'm going to give it a margin top of 4, just like that. Let's say have a space between the image and the text, and then this h2 tag, we're going to just make it bold a little bit, that is in semi bold, font dash semi bold, and text, a large text dash LG. And then for the p tag, we're going to make this, give it a font medium, font dash medium, then make this smaller, text dash sm, and give it a margin top of 1, just like this. Let us see how it looks. Yeah, this looks nice. Now as you can see, these products, they stack upon each other like this in a vertical manner, but I want it to be horizontal. How can we do that? We can do that using grid. So using grid, I'm going to come here at this div right here, give this a class name of grid, and then grid columns for mobile phones, grid columns of 1. Then for medium screen sizes, grid columns of 2. Then for larger screen sizes, we have a grid column of 3. Then for extra large screen, I'm going to give it a grid column of 4. Grid columns of 4, just like this. Save this and check. Yeah, as you can see, looks nice, but it is still looking somehow. To fix this layout here, we're going to go to our container div, our main container div, which is this one with an ID of product. And we're going to give this a class name. Give it a padding x of 4. Then for medium screen size is padding x of 12, padding y of 5, md, padding y of 10. And then make it flex, justify center, item center, just like this. Save it and let's see how it looks. Okay, now that everything looks nice, but as you can see, there's no gap between these. That is because we forgot to add a gap in this grid. So we can come here and say give it a gap of 5, just like this. And yeah, perfect. It's really nice. But if you look at this now, this is having like there's no difference between the home page and the product list. So we are going to make that difference now. To make that difference, we are going to go to our home page, which is this app/page.csx, and then we'll give this div, we're going to give this a class name, give this a like a kind of white, but it won't be that white. Let me show you. Hash f8 f9 fa, just like this. Let's see. You can see a small difference in the color. This is white and this is like white, but it's looking grayish. And then we can add like a title here, which is going to say all products. So under this hero section here, this hero component, we are going to add an h2 tag like this, which is going to say all products. All products, this is it. So now let's style that. We're going to give it a class name of give it a full width with full, a text of center, then text of 2XL, then for medium screen sizes give it a text of 4XL, then font of semi bold, font dash semi bold, and a padding Y of 6. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, perfect. It looks really nice. So the next thing we're going to work on is the footer component. This is just going to be a simple component. So in this component folder, create a new file, footer.tsx, and then you can write the boilerplate for that. Now in this footer component, we are going to be putting it inside the layout.csx, because of course we want it to be like the navbar, consistent across each pages. So you have your footer here, you import that just like this. Yeah, then now if you go to your page, I'm sure you should be able to see the footer component. Yeah, look at it here. It's small, but footer. Yeah. So let us work on the footer component. You go back to the footer, control click on this, go back to the footer, and then you can change this to footer instead of this div. Footer, like this, and then I'm going to be needing a p tag, and you can just say like let's say made with love, and I can use an emoji by, and then you could put any name you want. Let's say John Doe, like this. So let's see what we've got. Made with love by John Doe. So let's style it. First of all, you give this p a class name, change the text color. Text should be hash 495057, and then a small text. It should be centered, a padding x of 4, then for medium screen sizes a padding x of 12, and the padding y of 4. For medium screen sizes a padding y of 6. Let's see. And that's it. You have gotten your footer successfully. Now this is just what you need for a footer. Of course, if you want to add other design, you can do it, but I prefer something simple like this because our main focus is on the server actions and the route handlers using all this backend stuff. So now that we are done with this homepage here, we're going to work on the backend stuff now. That means we're going to like get the MongoDB connection string, connect to the database and stuff like that. So let us do that right now. So first thing, to get your MongoDB connection string, you are going to go to mongodb.com, and then you can sign in. Click on this sign in button here. After signing in, you are going to click on new project, and then enter your project name. I can just call this watches. You can call it anything you want, and then you click on next. After that, give members permission. Just click on create project. After that, click on create a cluster. This button here, click on it. Now we're going to enter the name of the cluster. Just leave it as cluster 0. Then up here, you are going to, for this project, using the free version is okay, but if you want a more advanced project, you can go for the paid one, but the free version is okay for what we are going to build. And then create deployment. Okay, now so you have your username and your user password. You can copy this password and save it somewhere. After that, click on create database user and then choose a connection method. Now click on drivers and just scroll down. As you can see, cluster is provisioning. Then you can click done or you can wait here, but for now let's click on done. And then you wait, and then you can click on get connection string. It should still be provisioning by now. Okay, we have the connection string already. Alright, so in our code here, we're going to create a file in the my app folder here. We're going to call the file .env. This is where we're going to pass all our environment variables, and then I can paste the password here, then come back here, then click on this connection string to copy it, this icon here, copy the connection string, then I can give this a variable mongo underscore URI is equal to the connection string, and then I can take this password, I can cut it, then come to this part where they wrote database password. I'll clear it, and then you paste it there, just like that. And now you can save. Now back to our MongoDB database, just click on done. The next thing we're going to do is to allow access from anywhere. So you go to network access, and then we're going to allow access from anywhere so that we won't have any problem deploying our application. So right now it's only my IP address that is added here. I'm going to click on add IP address and then allow access from anywhere. Click on confirm, and then as you can see, the status is pending. You have to wait a while and then it will become active. Now while waiting, we can move on to the next step, which is creating the connection to the database. For that, let me close all of this. For that, in our app folder here, we're going to create a new folder called API. This is where we're going to write all our backend code inside this API folder. And then inside this API folder, I can create another folder called DB, where I'm going to put my database. And inside this DB folder, I'll just create a file, connect db.ts, just like this. And then inside this connect db.ts file, I can just create a function which I will export. I will say export const connect db, give us an arrow function to be async, because we are going to be connecting to our database. That's why we are using the async and await keyword. Then I can just put a try and catch block here, try catch statement, this one. Then now in this try block, this is where I'm going to connect to our database. To connect to our database, we are going to be needing a library which is called Mongoose, which is what we can use to connect to MongoDB. So to use that, we are going to install it. So let me go back to my app, and then npm install Mongoose, just like this. You wait, let it get installed. Now that we have Mongoose successfully installed, we can now use this to connect to our database. And to do that, we are just going to come here. It's pretty simple, and create this variable const con will be equal to await, then mongoose. You import that, import mongoose from mongoose.connect, and then we're going to pass this Mongo URI, which we stored in our .env file. So we'll come here and say process.env.mongo underscore URI, just like this. And let's see, we're getting a warning here. Type of string or undefined is not assignable to parameter string. That's because of TypeScript stuff. So to do that, we're going to typecast this to be equal to string. So process.env.mongo.uri as string. This is how you typecast in TypeScript. All right. Now after this, we can just give like a check to be sure that yes, we are actually connected. So for that, we're going to use console.log, and then you can just say something like let's say MongoDB connected, and then you can pass in the connection host string or connection host stuff, the variable or something. So to do that, you just come here and say con, which is this variable here, con.connection.host. Just like this. With this, you are done with the try statement, and then in the catch statement, you can just come here and say console, if there's any error, console.log out the error. You can say error connecting to double N for this, connecting to MongoDB, and then you can pass in the error.message. And yeah, of course, we're going to get this TypeScript error, and error can be anything, so we can come here and just put any. Now after getting this error, we have to make sure we stop this code from running. So to stop this code from running, we'll just come here and say process.exit 1. So that is how you stop a code from running. Yeah, so this is the code you need to connect to the database. So if you want to connect to a database in anywhere in your application, you just need to just call this connectDB function. Now the next thing we're going to do after creating a connection to our database is to create a model for our website, which is like what we need, what we want to accept into our database. That is what a model is. So to do that, in this API folder, we are going to create another folder called models. If we have more than one model, we are going to add them inside this folder. But for this tutorial, I'm not sure we have more than one, but anyhow, we can just call this product.model.ts, just like this. And then we are going to say our product schema will come here. Product schema will be new mongoose.schema. Okay, we have to import that. Import mongoose.schema. Yeah. And then we are going to pass in everything we need, like everything our database is going to be needing. So which is like the image, the name, the price, and the description. So I'm just going to come here and say the image is going to be a type of string, and then of course it will be required. All fields are required. Required will be true. Just like this, you have declared one value here, and then you can copy this, paste it a few times, and then you can change this to name. A name will be a type of string, and required will be true as well. And then price, a price will be a type, it won't be a type of string, it will be a type of number, and required true as well. And then we'll need a link. A link will be a type of string, required will be true, and you can copy and paste this. And the next one we have is description. The description will be a type of string, and of course required true. Now if we just go on like this, we are just going to save this without having a date, like created at and updated at. So to add that in our application without actually doing that manually ourselves, MongoDB have that configured for us, but we just need to add the timestamps. So I'm just going to come here and say timestamps will be true, just like this. After this, I'm going to come here and say const products will be equal to mongoose dot model dot models dot products, or mongoose dot model, then put it in the product collection products, then it should follow the product schema. Then finally we export it so that we can use it in our application. So export default product, just like this, Now after creating the connect to database and the product model, the next thing to do is to actually add a product to our database. So this let me run our application again, npm run dev. So this button here, right now when you click on this button, let's see what happens. You are going to get a 404 error because the page could not be found, which is written here. This page could not be found. Now this is what we are going to work on. We are going to build the page, build the form, and then we add a product to our database. Now if you look at this URL here, you will have your localhost 3000 then /add - product. So how do we create this page in Next.js? To do that, we'll go to our app folder. Let us close this API folder here. In our app folder, you are going to create a new folder and then you name it whatever is there, which is add - product. Now inside this folder, you are going to create a new file, page.tsx. This page.tsx is a standard way, which is you cannot have any other name to represent a route. This page.tsx must be the name you must use to represent a route in Next.js. So now inside this page.tsx, you can just create a boilerplate and then you can call this add product page, something like this. And now if you save this and you go back here, you won't see let me refresh. Yeah, you won't see the 404 error again because we have actually created the add product page. Now in this add product page, we are going to be having a div, and then inside this div we are going to have a h2 tag. In this h2 tag will say add a new product. You can save this and then check add a new product. Now let us style this. First of all, in this div here, you give this a class name, a padding x of 4, then for medium screen sizes a padding x of 12, then give this a background color of hash f8, f9, fa, and then a padding bottom of 8. Then for the heading 2 tag, we are going to give this a class name. The class name will be give this a center text center, and then font semi bold with a padding top of 8, and then a text of extra large. Then for medium screen sizes, a text of 2 extra large, and then give it a full width, width w full, then max width of XL and MX auto, so that to stay in the center as well. So if you save this and check, Let's see. Alright, I think there's a problem here, and also the background color did not work. So let's see. Okay, I gave this a curly braces, so let me save this. Alright, the background color showed now. What's remaining is the text dash center, font dash semi bold, text L, width of full, max width of Excel. Then remove this. And yeah, it's at the middle now. So let me close this. And now the next thing we're going to work on is the add form. We're going to create a component which is going to act as the component for which you can use to add a product to our database. So that is going to be a form. We're going to add it here. So add form component, just like this. Now in the component folder, create a new file, call it add form.tsx, and then you can create the boilerplate. In this add form.tsx now, we are not going to be using a div. Instead, we are going to be using a form, because we use form for server actions, and we are going to need a server action in this component. We are going to use a server action to add a product to our database. So that's why we're using this form, so we can use the action attribute. Now we're going to create a div under this form. Inside this div, we're going to put a label tag, label, and this label is going to say product image. And if we save and go back to our home page, we are not going to see anything, because the add form is not yet added into the add product page. So we'll have to go to our add product page, which is this page.csx, and then under this comment, you can come here and say add form. Import that from component/add form, and you close it. And then if you check again, you should see the text here, product image. Alright, so let us go back to add form. Under this label, you are going to have an input, just like this, a self-closing tag, and they are going to give this a type of file, and it should accept only images. So accept image /star. This is how you tell your component, your tag, your input tag to accept only images, and then you can give this a name of image. Now this name is very important, because that is how you are going to use to identify these inputs, because like I said before, we are using server actions which also require form data. So to know the form data name, we are going to be using this name attribute. Now after this name, we are going to be using a class name, but for now we can leave it, and let us be done with the structure first before dealing with the styling. Now we can copy this, Ctrl+C, and then we can paste it here. This div will be for the name, the product name, but we can just call it ordinary the name. And this will not be a type of file, rather it will be a type of text, just like this. Then of course we can remove this accept keyword, because we are not using it in a text input. And the name will not be image, the name will be name, just like this. And then we can give this a placeholder of enter the product name, just like this. And we can copy this one, Ctrl+C, and paste it, Ctrl+V. The next one we're going to be having is the price tag, the price section. So price, this input will not be a type of text, it will be a type of number. And then you can just leave everything. No, the name should be price, the name should be price, and we can duplicate this again. The next one is for the link, but we can call this the seller's link. So to link to where your product, where the user can find your products, because this is not a full e-commerce site, this is a minimal e-commerce site. So seller's link, just like this, and this will be a type of text. We can leave it like that, and the name will not be name, the name will be link. And for the price, I'm going to say enter the product price. I forgot that, sorry. Now this will be the enter the product, or just I can just change this to, let's say something like link to where buyers can find you, just like this. And then finally we'll have the description. The name, we'll change this to description, and instead of an input, we're not going to be using an input. Instead, we're going to be using a text area. So we'll just come here and say text area, and then we'll give this a name of description, a name attribute of description, and a placeholder of enter the product description, enter the product description. Now we want to give it a defined row of 4. We want it to have 4 rows, just like this. That is how you give a row. So we can save, not rows rather. So if we save, yeah, the error is gone. If we save, we can come here, and if you look at this, you already have all those inputs. So now let us style this to look like a real form. The first thing to do is to, of course, we are going to start at the first tag, which is the form tag. We are going to give it a full width. So let's go to the form tag here. Give it a class name of width of full, and a max width of, let's say XL, max-w-xl, then mx-auto to start to be at the center, and then you can make this flex a flex of column, justify center, items center, space y of 4 to give it that little space in the vertical axis, space y of 4, and then you can just give it a margin top of, let's say 3, and for medium screen sizes a margin top of, let's say 5. So you save this and let's see what we've got. All right, you can see that right now it is at the middle. So the next thing after that, the next thing is my product image. So for the product image, we are going to make it flex. So this div here, you give this div a class name of flex, then flex of column, then a full width of full. Then for the inputs, for the label, we're not going to have any style. It's just as it will be as it is. For the inputs, you give it a class name, give it a width, a full width as well, and then a padding in the x direction of 3, padding in the y direction of 1.5. Then for medium screen sizes, gives a padding in the y direction of 2. Then text of, give it a text color of #252422. Then it should be rounded a little bit, rounded of LG. Then give it a white background, and of course a border. Then border dash gray of 500. You save this, and then let's see what we've got. Yeah, now after this one, we are going to do the same thing for all the remaining inputs. all the remaining inputs. So we can just come here, copy this class name for the inputs, or we can copy the div class name first. Copy this, Ctrl C, come here, paste it, come here, paste it, come here, paste it, paste it. And then you can copy the input class name as well. Copy it, then for the name input you paste the class name there. For the price input you paste it. For the link input you paste it. For the description input you paste it. Just like that. So let's see what we've got. Yeah, looks very nice. Then finally, after filling all of this, we're going to need a button which is going to submit all our input fields. So under this div right here, which contains the text area, we are going to add a button tag, button, and then it's going to say add product. Now to style this tag, we are going to give this a type of submit, and to style it, we are going to give this a class name, give it a full width, just like all the inputs, and a dark background hash 212529, and give it a text of white, a padding x of 3, padding y of 2, then rounded -md. You save this and then you check your browser. Yeah, looks nice. So we can change the cursor to be pointer, cursor -pointer. You save it and let's check. Yeah, looks really nice. Now that we have created this add product page and the form, the next thing to do is to create the server action to actually add a product to our database. According to Next.js, let me show you. We can add a server action by doing something like this. Let me copy this code. This is in the Next.js documentation, and I'm going to paste the code here. Now, as you can see, a sync function creates and then use server. You have to add this use server keyword to tell Next.js that you want this function to be a server action. And to use this function here, you are just going to come to this form tag here and say action will be equal to create, just like this, and you have your server action. But there is a problem doing it this way, because any code you write in here is a server code, and that means we won't be able to display toast notification. So the workaround I did was to separate my server action into a different file. Then I'm going to come here, then I will create a client side function which I'm going to use to call my server side function. So let me do it so that you understand what I'm trying to explain. So for that, let me close all this. In this folder, in my app folder, I'm going to create a new folder called utils, which is where I'm going to add all my utility functions. And then I can come here and say add products, or let's say add action.ts. So this is my server action, and the first thing you should do at the top of your file is to add the use server directive here to indicate that this is a server side code. And then we're going to create the function. Let's say export async function add action, or let me put this a small letter, add action. And then this action is going to accept a form data, which is going to be of type form data, just like this. Now inside this function, I'm going to put a try and catch statement. In the try statement, I'm going to extract all my details, which I'm going to get from the form, which is all these details here. I'm going to extract all of them and save it in a variable. To do that, we are going to use form data like I said earlier. So const image, which is the first field we have here, will be form data dot get, and then the name of my image field, which I called image. If you come to the add product, the add form here, you are going to see that I called this image. This was why I said that the name attribute is very important when you are dealing with server actions. Now back to our server action here. Now this image is going to be a type of file, just like this, and I'm going to get the next one, which is name. Const name will be equal to what? Form data dot get, and then the name. We're going to do the same thing for the price as well. For the price, form data dot get price, and then the next one is the link. Form data dot get link, and the final one is the description. Form data dot get description, just like this. Now after this, I'm going to put a check because I don't want the user to submit an empty field. So I have to check if all the fields have been entered in the input field. So I'm going to use the if statement. If no image, or no name, or no price, or no link, or no description. Now if the user did not enter any of these, I'm going to console.log all fields are required. Now this console.log will not appear in our client in Google Chrome developer tools in our client side, because this is a server action. Rather, we are going to see it here if anything goes wrong. So to display a toast notification, like I said, we cannot display a toast notification in a server code like this. To do that, we can just return a statement which we are going to later call in our client side code. So return, and then I'm going to say error, all fields are required as well. So I can copy this, all fields are required, just like this. Now after this check, we can then connect to our database. Connect DB, import that, and don't forget the await keyword. Await connect DB, just like that. Now in an app like this, where we have an input image, an image field, and other text field, we store the images differently, because we cannot just store the base 64 image in our database, because to make our database take more space, it will take more space in our database. So in the workaround way to do this is to take your image, then you transfer the image to a cloud, and then you collect the URL from the cloud and save it in the database, which you can use anytime in your application. So the cloud we're going to use today is Cloudinary. So to do that, we're going to go to cloudinary.com, and then if you don't have an account, you sign up, but I already have an account, so I just need to log in. The next thing, in this Cloudinary website, we are going to be needing three things: the cloud name, the API key, and the API secret. This is what we are going to use to configure our Cloudinary. So to get that, you are just going to come here, programmable media. Now as you can see, you have your cloud name, so you can copy your cloud name, save it in your .env. Then you go to your API keys here, go to your API key. There you are going to find your API key and your API secret. Copy that as well, then save it in your env folder, in your env file rather. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I don't want to show you my env key. It's a secret. I don't want to show you. So just get your cloud name is this one, copy it, go to API keys, get your API key and the API secret, then go to your .env. Then you can save it something like this. Let me show you. You can save it like cloud name, cloud underscore name will be equal to your cloud name from Cloudinary, API underscore key will be equal to your API key from Cloudinary, then API underscore secret. Just like this. That's how you save it to your .env file. So let me get mine and I will come back to this video. After storing all the secrets in your .env file, you can go back to Cloudinary here to create a folder where we are going to store all our code, all our images rather. So you click on this folder tab here, and then this icon here, click on it to add a new folder. But I already have one called zwatches, but let me create a new one just for teaching sake called watches. Then I can save. Now I have this empty folder. We are going to use this to, this is an empty folder. We're going to use this folder to store all our images for that site. Alright, so let us continue developing this site. The next thing we have to do is to configure Cloudinary, like I said before, with the cloud name, the API key, and the API secrets ready. In this utils folder, we will create a new file, call it cloudinary.ts, cloudinary.ts, and then we're going to be needing Cloudinary, the Cloudinary package. So let us close this terminal and install it. npm install Cloudinary. Alright, after installing the Cloudinary, we can come here and then we're going to import it. So import, this is how you import Cloudinary v2 as Cloudinary, v2 as Cloudinary from Cloudinary, just like this. And then we're going to say cloudinary.config, and then the cloud name, cloud underscore name. The cloud name will be, sorry, I have to wrap this in a bracket. Yeah, the cloud name will be what you stored in your env file, process.env.cloud underscore name, just like this. The next one is your API key. The API key will be process.env.api underscore key, just like this. The final one will be your API secrets, API underscore secret, process.env.api underscore secret, just like this. Then finally we have to export Cloudinary so that we can use it in our server actions. So export default Cloudinary, just like this. Now that we are with this file, with this code, with this small code, we have configured Cloudinary. So we can go back to our server action here, and then we're going to implement the image processing. That means we're going to process the image and store it in Cloudinary. Now I can just leave a comment which is going to say image processes. Now for this image processes, I'm just going to copy and paste the code. I got this code, let me paste it. I got this code from somewhere. I can't actually remember where I got it, whether it's from Stack Overflow or from the Cloudinary official documentation, but I'm going to explain it. It's not something that I need to teach or something like that. It is just for Cloudinary's sake. So for this, I have to import Cloudinary from Cloudinary, which is the one that we have in our utility folder. Yeah. So first thing, you create an array buffer, image.arraybuffer, then buffer new uint image processes. This is just the processes. And then for this one here, you have to put your folder which you just created. So I called it watches, and then you put it here. So after everything, if successful, you are going to have the image response, just like this. Now after saving this stuff to Cloudinary, the next what we're going to do is to store everything in our database. So store in DB, just like this. To store, I'm going to say await product. This is the model which we created. Let me show you. We created this model. Yeah, this is the model we created earlier, mongoose.schema stuff. So we're going to call that, and then we're going to create a new object. So .create, just like this, and then we're going to pass in all the fields which we require in the product model. The first field is the image. this image will not be this ordinary image which we got from the form data. Instead, it is going to be the URL of the image stored in Cloudinary, which is now stored in image response. So I'm going to say this image will be equal to image response dot secure URL, secure underscore URL. By the way, to get this code, the GitHub link will be in the description below, so you can just go and check it out. Just copy and paste it. If you want to understand it more, let me know in the comments so I can explain it more. All right, let's continue. The next thing is the name. After the name, you save the price, the link, and the description, just like this. After saving, the next thing is to return a success message, which we are going to show using a toast notification. Return success, product added successfully. And if there's any error, I'm just going to return the error message. Return error, something went wrong. Yeah, so with this, we are done with the server action of adding a product to our database. So how do we do it? First thing, we extracted all the variables, the image from the input field, which is the form data. From the form, we extracted everything using form data.get, the image, the name, the price, the link, and the description. And then we provided a check so that a user would not submit an empty field for us to use in our database. No. So that's why we had this check. And then we connect to database, or we can put it after the image processes, anyhow you want it. Then after that, we have this image processes here, which is going to store our image to Cloudinary. You're going to upload our image to Cloudinary, and then you create the product. You store everything in the database using product.create, and then you return a success message. Now, after this is done, the next thing is to go back to our add form here. Here that I said that instead of using the use server, we're going to create a function which is going to be a client-side function. So for that, instead of async function create, I can just clean this. Instead of async function create, I'm going to call this async function client add action. You know, we have an add action here, but this is the server side, so I'm going to call this client add action, and then I'm going to remove this use server. The next thing is that I'm going to accept the form data as well, so that I will be able to pass it to this add action, because if you notice, this add action is going to be needing a form data. So I'm going to accept that as well in this client add action. So I'm going to say form data, which is a type of form data. And then I'm going to extract the result, or I can just say something like await add action. Import that from the utils folder, and then this add action is looking for something. It is looking for the form data. Now, for us to get our toast notification, I can just collect the results here. So I can just say something like const error and success will be equal to await add action. Remember, we had this error and success passed as an object. If you remember, we had this success here and we had this error here. So that is why we are able to destructure it from the add action function. Now the next thing I'm going to say is if there's an error, here I'm going to display a toast notification. So for that, we're going to be using React hot toast to display a toast notification. So npm install react-hot-toast. Now that it has been installed, the next thing is to put it in our layout.tsx. But then if you have worked with React Hot Toast, you will know that you cannot put it in layout.css because the toaster component here, let me show you, the toaster component is actually a client-side component, but the layout.css is a server-side component, and you cannot convert this layout to a client-side component because that is how it is designed. So for us to use this toaster in this layout, which is a server-side component, we have to create a provider. To create a provider, in this my app folder here, create another folder which you can call providers. In these providers, create a new file, call it toast provider.tsx, and then you can create your boilerplates. Now this will be a client-side component, which means that we have to put the use client directive at the top of the file. Inside this div, create the component, add the toaster components rather, add the toaster components from React Hot Toast, just like this, and yeah, you are good to go. The next thing, you take this toast provider, go to your layout.tsx, and then on top of this navbar here, you add the toast provider. Finally, we'll go to our add form here. Then we're going to display the toast notification. To display it, we'll just say toast dot import the toast from React Hot Toast dot success, if error rather, dot error, and then I'm going to pass in the error. But if it is actually a success, we're going to say if success toast.success, then you pass in the success object there, the success text there rather. Now if you pass in the success and toast notification, immediately we submit. If it is successful, we have to go back to the home page, and to go back to the home page, we are going to be needing the router component from Next.js. So to get that, you can just say const router will be equal to use router from next/navigation, not next/router, next/navigation, just like this. And then inside this if statement, you can come here and say router.push, go back to the home page, just like that. And then you can come to this client add action, copy it and remove this create, put it here, just like this. So now if you try to add a product, let's see, okay, we had an error, you are importing a component that, okay, yeah. So when using hooks in Next.js, anything hooks, you will have to add the use client directive because hooks are client-side components. So I'll have to add the use client directive at the very top so that Next.js will recognize this as a client-side component. So let's see. Okay, now that error have been fixed. So if you try to add an image now, and let's pick any image, let's say this one, you will just see the name of the image. You will just see the name of the image, but not, let me pick that again. You will just see the name of the image, you will not see a preview image. So how will the user know that this is the image I selected? So that is what we are going to work on now. We are going to create a function which when this input field here changes, it is going to generate a preview image. So back to our add form here, under this client add action component, add action function rather, I'm going to create a function called handle image change, and then I'm going to pass e here. E will be a type of change event, and then HTML input element, just like this. Now we're going to get all the files which the user passed into the input. So to do that, I'm going to get the first file rather. I'm going to get the file which the user passed into the input. So const file will be equal to e.target.files then .0. Yeah, .0. And then if file, that is if there's a file, the next thing I'm going to do is to check the file size, because Next.js does not allow files which are greater than 1 MB unless you go to the Next.js config and change the settings. Of course, I can show you how to do that, but for now, let me show you how you can restrict a user from putting a file size greater than 1 MB. So I'm just going to come here and say const file size will be equal to file.size. Now, if this file is gotten from this variable file, which we have gotten from the input e.target.files, just to make that clear. So if there's a file I've passed that rather, const file size equals to file.size. So if I'm going to calculate this file size now, if marked.round, then the file size divided by 1 MB, which is 1024, it is greater than 1024. That is how I will know that yes, it is greater than 1 MB. And then I can just come here and say toast.error image greater than 1 MB is not allowed. Just like this. Now, if we pass this check, I'm going to put an else statement. Else, now we are going to create a state which is going to save the URL based on that file. So let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to come under this router here, create a new state, const image URL, comma, set image URL will be equal to use state, and then an empty string as the initial state value. Now, if we pass this check, I'm going to come here and say set image URL to be equal to URL dot create object URL. This is you are going to be creating a dummy URL based on that file, and then you pass in the file just like this. Finally, we'll go to handle image here, then you come to this image and then you say on change will be equal to handle image change. Now we have to show the image, so we have to use the image URL. So under this form tag here, you can just create a curly braces here and say if there is image URL, you're going to put a conditional statement, image URL, and you'll come here and say you pass in the image component from next/image, and then give it a source. The source will be, of course, image URL, an alt tag of img, a width of, let's say, 1000, height of 1000 as well, and then you can give this a class name, max-width-full, max-height-72, then object cover, object center, rounded-lg. Now you can save this and you come back, no file chosen. So let me click on this. As you can see, I have this preview image here. If I choose another image, it will change to the same thing. So let me check out if this function will work. And also after submitting, we should clear the URL of this. We have to clear this out so that the user won't be seeing a previous image if the user want to add a new product. So if success, set image URL back to an empty string, just like this. Finish. Now let us check if this client add action and this add action server action will work. So let us check that. I've put my image here, the name, let's say HP, price, let's put any price, seller's link, Google, let me just put Google, description, I can just say a nice watch, and then add product. Product added successfully. So now let us confirm by first we're checking. As you can see, the stuff, everything left, and now we have returned back to our home page. So first let us check if the image was stored in Cloudinary. So let me refresh this. As you can see, this is the image which we passed to Cloudinary, and let us check our MongoDB as well. So we'll go back to clusters. In clusters, we are going to click on browse collections. And then as you can see, products, and yeah, the data was stored successfully. This is my image. Like I said, it is going to get the URL from Cloudinary, and this is my name, the price, the link, and created art, updated art. If we do not add that timestamps in when we were creating the product model, we won't get these two extra fields here. So that was why we added the timestamps to add this created art and updated art to check when last the file or the collection was updated or when it was created. So the next step now will be actually to fetch the data from our database. We have to fetch the data from our database, then display the data here. So that's what we're going to do next. This image is a dummy image, remember. I don't know why I added it again. This one is a dummy image, this is a dummy name, this is a dummy price. So the next one we're going to do now is to fetch the image directly from the database. All right. To fetch data, we are going to be using Next.js route handlers, which was previously called API routes. You can still call it that or do. So we're going to be using the Next.js route handlers, which allows us to create API routes inside our Next.js application. So let me show you how you can do that in your code here. Let me close all of this. Let me close all of this. In your code here, in this app folder, in this API folder, you create a new folder of the app of the routes of which you want to fetch the product from. So I can just come here and say fetch dash products, and then inside this fetch products, just like creating a new page that we had page.csx, we are going to have a standard naming of file which is going to be called routes.ts. Now Next.js recognizes any route.ts keyword, so you cannot use this in naming your file. So you have to use route.ts when working with API or when creating a route handler. Now the next thing we're going to do, this is a get request because we are fetching the data from a database. So we'll say export async function get, and then you get the request, which will be a type of request. And of course, the first thing we have to do is to connect to our database before we fetch the product from our database. So to do that, I'll show you how to do it already. Await connect DB, just like this. Now we are going to create a try and catch statement. In the try statement, I'm going to fetch the product, sort it, and then save it to a variable. To fetch a product, I'm going to use the await keyword, await products dot find, and then I'm going to put a curly braces here to show that I'm not looking for any particular stuff. They should give me all the products in the database, and then I'm going to sort by the one which we created last. So I'm going to say created art, and then -1. That is how you sort in MongoDB in this type of code. Yeah, so the final one is to save this to a variable. So I'm going to say const products will be equal to whatever the value that we got from here. I hope that makes sense. Then after this, we are going to return a response back to the user. So return response.json, and then I'm going to pass the product. And also I can give this a status of 200. Yeah, with that we are done with the try statement. In the catch block, I can just come here and say console.log error in fetching products, and I can also send the response to the user. So return response.json, and I'm going to pass the message. The message will be equal to error.message, and then I can give this a status of 400. Now I'm getting this type error is of type unknown, so I'm just going to come here and say error is of type any. Now to check if this actually works, we are going to go to this route and see if it gets our products. So let me create a new file, a new tab here, and then where is our file located? Localhost /API/fetch-products. So that is what I'm going to add here. Localhost 3000 slash in the API folder, then /fetch-products. Let us see if we'll get our products from our database. Yeah, as you can see, let me print this. Now we had only one product in our database, and that is the only one we are getting. So yeah, our route handler works. The next thing is to make this show on the home page. How are we going to do this? We can use fetch API, which is we are going to pass the URL, and then it will fetch the data from the API. And also we can use Axios. I prefer using Axios, so we're going to be using Axios instead of fetch API. So let me close my terminal here so that we can install Axios. npm install Axios. Okay, now that we have installed Axios, we can go back to our product list component, close this. In the product list component, this one, we are going to be using Axios to get the product. So instead of using this, or let me just leave it for now, for Axios we are going to be using the use effect keyword, the use effect. And remember, when working with hooks, you have to change this to a client side component, use client. So use effects, now we are going to use Axios to get the API. Axios.get, Axios, import that .get. Now we're going to pass in the URL. The URL is /API/fetch-products, and we're going to use the then. We can use async and await, but this is a use effect function, so I'm not sure we can use that. So we use the then, and then you get your response. And for now, let me just console.log the response. Console.log the, let's say, response. Response will be response.data. Okay, let me see how that works. Let me run my server again, npm run dev. Yeah, look at it here. We've got a response. Let me show you. We've got a response product, which is an array of 1, and then all the lists. As you can see, we have products and we have all the information about that product. So we have to save this product now inside a state. So we'll come here, instead of using this dummy products, we are going to change this to become a state. So const products, comma, set products will be equal to use state, which is going to be an empty array initially. And then when we get a response, instead of console.logging the response, we are going to save this response to the state. So set products to be response.data. Now remember that it had a product, then the product data dot products, just like this. Now instead of using this link, I can come here, change this to /products/ and then the product ID, product._ID. Now I'm going to get this type error, property ID does not exist on type never. To fix this, we are going to be creating a type, or we can use an interface, anyone. Let me use an interface. So interface products interface products, and then the ID will be of type string, the image will be of type string, the name will be of type string, and the price will be of type number, just like this. And let's see, okay, I have to pass in the product here. It will be a type of product, and the error should be gone. Yeah. Now image, instead of using this dummy image here, I'm going to be using the main image from the database, which is products.image. And for the title, I'm going to be using the products of the database as well, which is going to be products.title, or product.name rather. For the price, product.price, change this to products.price, and then you can save it and check your browser again. As you can see, you're going to get an error, of course, invalid source prop, rest Cloudinary blah 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 is not on the host name, something like that. This is because Next.js is trying to prevent us from any harm, so any external URL cannot be added into a Next.js image component. Instead, to solve this now, we have to go to the Next.js config to tell Next.js that yes, we see, like, yes, this URL res.cloudinary.com is actually a legit URL. So to do this, let's go back to our next.config.cs. Now under this comment, I'm just going to come here and say images, create the images objects, and then remote patterns, an array of objects, then the protocol. The protocol will be HTTPS because we are using a secure URL, and then the host name. The host name will be res.cloudinary.com /* to tell it that res.cloudinary.com/anything. So that will be it. You save this and we'll refresh our server will restart to apply the change. So if we refresh, this error should be gone. As you can see, we did not get that error. And let's scroll down. All product, it is loading. And yeah, you have gotten the image, the name, and the price from the database. So now the next thing we have to work on is this search bar here. we want it to actually be able to search. And for me to show that, I have to add a few other products. So let me do that quickly and I'll continue with the video. I have added 2 extra products, so which I can use to test the search functionality when we are done. Alright, so let us go to our code and work on the search functionality. The first thing we're going to do is to work on the search route handler. Then after that, we are going to implement it in the front end. So you know how to start to create a route handler. By now you should know how to create a route handler in Next.js. First thing, in this API here, I'm just going to create a folder, call this search. And then in this search, I can create a file, call it route.ts. This is how you create a route handler in Next.js. And then export async function. We are finding a product, we are going to use get. And then request, the request will be next request. We're going to use this one. And then in the try, we're going to create a try catch block. In the try catch block, we're going to first of all connect to our database, await, connect to DB, connect DB. And then we're going to get the search params from our URL. So I'm going to explain all of this. So just say const search params will be equal to request dot next URL dot search params. This was why we use this next request instead of the normal request type, because we want to use this next URL. And after getting these search params, we are going to be getting the search term from the search param. So I'm going to say const search term will be equal to search params dot get the search term. Now we're going to get this search term, we're going to name it from the front end. So do not think that this is a standard way of naming it. You can name it anything you want. You can use queue, you can use search, anything you want, but I prefer using search term. And then under this search term, I'm going to get a product based on the search term. To do that, I'm just going to say const products will be equal to await products dot find product, import that from the models, product dot find, and then I'm going to use regex. So I'm going to find by name, and I'm going to use regex to find by name, regex, and then it should match the search term. Now after matching the search term, we do not want it to be case sensitive. So for that, I'm going to add an option. So options should be I. This will make sure that when searching, if you search for dog or dog, everything will bring out the same result. That's why we added this option I. And then we are going to sort. Dot sort by created at, the last one created should appear at the top, created at -1. Then finally, after getting the products, we are going to return a response back to the user. Return response dot JSON. Then you pass in the message, not the message rather. We are going to pass in the products. We are going to pass the message in the when we are catching for the error. We are going to pass in the product and then give it a status of 200. Status of 200 to show that here it was successful. And then for the catch error, we are going to just return a response, return response.json. The message will be error.message, and then you can give this a status of 400. We are getting that type error, so just add any here. Yeah, now that we are done with this search route handler, the next thing is to create the search page. So before we create the search page, right now if we type anything in the search bar, nothing happens. So we have to work on that. And where is our search bar located? Our search bar is located in our navigation bar. So we have to go to our navigation bar to work on this search bar. Visit your navigation bar or components, navbar.csx, and for that it should take us to the search page on change, which means anything, once I add any figure here, it should take me to the search page. So for that, I'm going to come here and say const handle change will be async. It will be of type change event, then HTML input element, HTML input element. Now I'm going to get my URL params for our window location. So I'm going to come here and say const URL params will be equal to new URL search params, and then I pass in the window.location dot search, just like this, and then I'm going to set in my URL params to be equal to the search term. So let me show what I mean. URL params, which is this one here, dot set, and I'm going to set it to be equal to search term, and then I will pass the value, which will be e.target.value, just like this. Now this URL param is in an object format, so we have to convert it to a string. So to do that, I can just come here and say const search query will be equal to URL params dot to string, just like this. Then finally we have to push it to the search page, and to push anything we are going to be needing use router. So const router will be equal to use router from next/navigation. And like I said before, anything that require hooks have to be a client component, so we're going to add the use client directive here at the top. Use client search query, and now we have to push them to the search page. Router.push to be /search. We don't have this page yet, but we are going to create it. Then you put a question mark and then your search query. Now this function, we have to go to our input field, which is this one, and then on change, handle the change. You save this and let us see if it works. Now if I put E, I'm meant to go to /search, and then the search term should be E. You can see localhost 3000 /search term /search, and then my search term will be equal to E. Now this search term is what we are getting in our API route. So that's why I said that you are the one that is going to determine what the value or what the text will be. So if I come here and say I don't want it to be search term, I want it to be Q, or I want it to be search, it is my choice. Okay, now that we have been redirected to this page with our search term here, we are going to create a new page which is going to display all our product results. To create this search page, we'll go to our app folder here, and then create a new folder. We can call this search. Now do not confuse this with this other search. this search is for the API, and this search will be for the page.page.tsx. Yeah. Now create the boilerplate, call it search page. Just like this, you save this, and if you check your home page, you shouldn't see this 404 again. You should see the search page. Let's wait a while. Yeah, as you can see, the search page. Now what we want to do, we want to extract this value, this search term equal to E, get this E, and then we're going to use Axios to fetch the products which have an E in its name. So to do that, we are going to be using the search params from Next.js and use effect, of course. So const search params will be equal to use search params, and as you can see, we are using a hook, so we have to add the use client directive at the top. Use client directive at the top. Now after getting this search params, we are going to use a use effect, and then we are going to get the search term from the URL. So I'm going to say const search term from URL will be equal to search params dot get. Then what am I getting? I am getting the search term, just like this. Now if there is a search term from URL, search term from URL, I'm going to now perform a get request for my API. So I'm now going to use Axios. I'm going to use Axios dot get, and then slash API slash search, and I'm going to pass in my parameter search term. My query rather, search term will be equal to search term from URL. Then after that, let me just console.log the response. So let me say .then the response console.log the, let's say, products response.data. So yeah, this should depend on search params. So let's see what we've got. So you can see we had 3 products, but right now we are getting 2 products. As you can see, the array of 2. And if you look at the name, these 2 we have an E on the name. Yeah, they both had an E on the name. So if I put a C, as you can see, this changed to C. If I put a C, let's see, I'm going to get one array, and this should be that select stuff. Yeah, celestial chrono. So this is what I'm talking about. So the next thing I'm going to do is to save, instead of console.logging this out, I'm going to save it in a state. So I'm going to create the product and set product state. Let me just go to my product list and copy the state. The next thing to do is to save the state. So instead of .then, let me import useState. Instead of console.logging the results, I'm going to save this in a state. So .then set product to be equal to response dot data dot product. And then if any error occur, so dot catch, if any error occur, I'm going to catch the error, then console dot log error fetching search results, and then I can put in the error just like this. Now after we have saved this to the state, we have to display this to the user. We have to display the search result to the user, and to display the results we need this exact component here. But now we did not make this component, we did not make it to be able to be reusable, so that is why we have to copy this. So now that should be an exercise to you. Make this component reusable so that we won't have to be copying and pasting the component into the search page, because we have the component already. We should just be able to import it, then pass in the data that will show the particular result. So that should be an exercise to you. Make this component responsive. All right, let's see. Paste it here. Import everything you need to import. Now for this product, I'm going to get the product interface, and I can make this global as well. If you want to do that, you can do that. You can make it global if you want. I'm going to put it at the top. Alright, so this should be able to show the product to the user. Yeah, Celestial Chrono. Exactly. So if I put an E, I'm going to get Eternal and Celestial Chrono. Exactly. Works perfectly. The next thing is to be able to see a single page. Right now, if I click on this Eternal row here, I'm going to go to API/product, then the product ID, but I'm seeing a 404 error. So this is what we're going to work on next, creating a single page view. We're going to fetch the product based on the ID. I'm going to show you how you can do that, and as well show you how you can display it to the user. To fetch a product based on its ID, we are going to be using route handlers, but this is not going to be your regular route handler, because the link is going to be dynamic, which means that it changes. So we have to create a dynamic route to handle different links. So to do that, I can just come to my API folder. Let me close all of this. In my API folder, I can create a new folder and name it product. Or since I'm fetching a single one, I can call it product. And then inside this product, to create that dynamic route, I'm going to create another folder, but this is going to have a square bracket, and then I'm going to name it product ID. And then inside this ID, I will create the file routes.ts. So this is how you can create a dynamic route handler in Next.js. Now to get the API code, we are going to export a sync function get, and like I said, we are using the get because we are fetching the product from a database. If we are posting a field or a data to our database, we are going to be using the post request, but now I'm fetching it, so that is why we're using the get request. And now you pass in the request of type request. Now we also need to get the product ID, and to do that in Next.js, you just put params here, and then params will be of type promise, and inside the promise we are going to have a product ID, which is going to be a type of string. And of course, after all this, inside this function, the first thing we're going to do is to connect to our database. So await connect db, and then we're going to get the product ID. We're going to get this product ID from our route here. So to do that, we're just going to save it in the variable const product ID. Product ID will be equal to await params dot product ID, just like this, as simple as that. And then create a try and catch statement. In the try block, we are going to find the product by the ID, which is this product ID, and we're going to say const product will be equal to await product from your model product dot find by ID, find by ID, and then you pass in the product ID, product ID. Yeah. Now we are going to make a check. So if no product, which means that the user entered an invalid ID, an invalid product ID, or a product ID that does not exist. So I'm going to come here and say if no product, return response.json, give the user a message of product not found, and then you can give this a status of 400. But if everything goes well, just come under this and say return response.json. They pass in the product with a status code of 200. If there's an error, just come here and say return response.json, give it a message of error.message and a status code of 400. They come here and say error will be any, just like this. So now let us test this route out. So remember, in our former code here, we have the API route which fetched all the APIs. So now we're looking for the API route which is going to fetch a particular API. So let us check where it is located. /API/product, then the product ID. So /API/product/the product ID. So let me get this one, copy this, paste it here. And yeah, as you can see, we got that particular product from our database. Now, since we have been able to get this from the database, what we are going to do next is to use Axios to display this product to our user. We are going to display it here, and right now, as you can see, this page could not be found because we haven't created the page yet. And also note that this page is going to be a dynamic page also, just like how the route handler is going to be is a dynamic route. This page is going to be a dynamic page because this ID changes. So let me show you how to create a dynamic page in Next.js. You are going to, in your app folder, create a new folder. What is the name here? It is called product. So you are going to come here, create a new folder, name it product. Now, what is the next thing you have? You have this ID which is going to be changing. So you have to put that in a square bracket. That is how you declare a dynamic route in Next.js. So come here and say product ID, just like this. And then inside this product ID, you create your page.tsx. For this page, I am not going to teach you from scratch how you can build it from scratch. I've already showed you how you can get a single product or a single data from the database using the ID. So I'm just going to paste the code and I'm going to explain it for you. instead of copying and instead of explaining everything from scratch, which is going to waste a lot of time. This is not a Tailwind CSS course. The aim of this is to teach you route handlers and server actions in Next.js. So let me paste the code here, and now I will explain. Okay, first thing we have here is the back button, and the back button uses router, which is gotten from next/navigation. Which is gotten from the use router hook, which is gotten from next/navigation, and then we can say router.back. So when clicked, it's going to take us back to the previous route. Now for this image, we have the source to be product.image. How did we get this product? First, we have a state product set product, which is of type of this product here. Now this product, we will use a use effect combined with Axios, which is going to get the products from our route handlers /API/product and then params.product_id. Remember that this is a dynamic API route handler, which is why we are using this params.product_id. And as you can see, we got params from the use params hook with Next.js. And then if the data, if it doesn't exist yet, we should show the loading state, and if it exists, we'll come back here and show this. Now this is your product.name, and you have an ellipsis here, which is going to act like a drop down to show the update button and the delete button. And also you have your product price, your product link, your product description, and you might also like, which I just added the product list component back. So if I save this and I refresh the page, as you can see the loading state, and yeah, now you have your single product page. You might also like, and just like this. Now that this is done, the next we're going to do is how you can update a form or a product in Next.js, how you can update the data using server actions. Now we're going to use server actions to update the data. So if I click on this update button, I'm going to be taken to a page /product/the ID of the product, then /update. Now we haven't created that yet, and this is what we're going to create in the next part. Updating a product is similar to adding a product to the database because it uses the same form, just that this one, for updating, it will prefill, and also it uses almost the same server action, just with some few changes. So back in our code here, we're going to copy the same. Let me show you. This is the add product page. Now looking at this route here, you can see /product/id and then update. So let's check /product/id. That means we're going to have the update page here /update, and then inside this folder I'm going to create the file page.tsx. Now for this, I'm going to go to this add product page, Ctrl A, copy everything, and then come to this update page and paste it. And I'm going to change this to update product page, come here, update product page, and instead of add a new product, I'm going to come here and say update product, as simple as this. And then we can save and refresh. As you can see, the update products have the same. Okay, now we have to change the button, instead of add product to update product. Okay, that is in the add form. Now we have to create another form, but this one will be for update form. We can reuse the add form. That should be an exercise for you, but I don't want to start making changes, so I just need to just copy and paste the add form in this component, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and from add form I'm going to rename this to update form. And then I'm going to change this name from add form to update form. Go to the down, change this from add form to update form, and the button from add product to update products. And when after saving, you can see that nothing changed because we haven't added it to the update page. So instead of add form, I'm going to change this comment to update form, and then remove this update form, and then we can remove this add form just like this. You save, and then you should have your update product here. Yeah, update product. Now we want that when a user click update, all this field here should be pre-filled. And how can we do that? We can do that using default value in our update form. So we have, first thing we'll do is to get the product information. We have to get the product information, and then we'll use default value to add the information, that is to pre-fill it. So we can just come here and say const. Let's go to our single product page where we have this one, single product page, and then we can copy this, come to our update form, and then you can paste it here. And now we need this product type, this product interface. You can come here, copy the product interface, copy the product interface, come to the update form. At the top under the import, you paste it, and now we are going to use effect to get all the products, to save the product to our state here. So now we can just say use effect, import that from React. Use effect, and then inside, of course, we are going to use Axios to get the products. So .get Axios.get, and then /API/products, and then the product ID. We can pass this product ID from our update page. So for this, I'm just going to come here and say the product ID is going to be of type string. So product ID of type string. And now we can add the product ID. But now we are not getting any product ID, so we have to go to our update page and pass in the product ID. So we'll come here in our update page, product ID will be equal to the params.product ID, params.product ID. But we don't have the params yet, so we can just come here and then const params will be equal to use params, and then since we're using a hook, we'll change this to a client component, use client, and then this is a type of string, so we'll just come here and typecast this to as string, and then the error is gone. So now we have been able to pass the product ID, and we can get this product ID because this update page is under this product ID, which is why we can access the parameter. Now back to our update form. Where are we? Okay, yeah. Let me separate this. /product ID. And then we can get the response dot then the response sets product to be equal to the response dot data dot product. Set product to the response dot data dot product, just like this. And then we can come here to change this. Now for this one, we also need the image URL. For this one, well, we also need the image URL. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to check if there is a product. So if there is a product, we are going to change this image URL to the previous product image URL. Let me show what I mean. We are going to be using use effect also. So under that first use effect, which is this one, we are going to create another use effect. And then you can say if product exists. That means if we have gotten if this use effect have run successfully, and then the response or data.product is saved in the product state. So if it exists, I'm just going to come here and say set image URL to be equal to product.image, and then this should depend on if product changes or not, just like this. Now if I save, I should get the former image. I should get the former, yeah, exactly. But other fields are not pre-filled. So let us go to other fields so that we can pre-fill other fields. Let's go down. Now in this type, I'm just going to come here and say in this, no, okay, we're not working on the image. We have worked on that already. For the text, I'm just going to say, I will say default value. Default value will be what? Product.name. And then for the price, the default value will be product.price. For the link, the default value will be product.link. For the description, the default value will be product.description. Just like this. And then when we save, let's see exactly, we've gotten everything pre-filled. Now the next thing we're going to work on is the server action, which is actually going to update the product. Because right now, if you check, let's check. If you check, it is using a server action for adding a product. Let's see. As you can see it, we're using the add action, but we do not want that. We want a server action which is going to update a product. So let us go to our utils folder where we have other actions. So like I said before, the updating a product in Next.js and MongoDB is almost the same thing with adding a product, just a few changes. So I can copy this and paste it, and then I'm going to rename this to update action. And for the name, I'm going to update the name also to update action. Yeah. So the only difference between this and the add action is that, first of all, we are not doing product.create, we are doing product.find by ID and update. So instead of product.create, we are going to do product.find by ID and update, and then we'll pass in the ID. But now we don't have this ID, which means we are going to be getting the ID from this. So ID, we are going to be getting the ID from our update form. The ID will be a type of string. Just leave it like type of string. Yeah. So this is the number one difference. Instead of using product.create, we are using product.find by ID and update. So we'll find the product by the ID and then we update the product. Now, what if there was already a product before? What if there's already an image? Or not what if, there is already an image already. What if the user wants to change the image? How are we going to do it? Number one, we are not going to be doing this check again. Instead of doing all this check, we're going to remove this image check. Because right now, there's already an image. If you check, there's already an image, and the user might not choose a different image, which means that we need to remove that check. Now, what if the user add another image? What are we going to do? We are going to remove that product image first. We are going to remove the product image from Cloudinary. We are going to delete it from Cloudinary, and then we are going to add the new image to the database and to Cloudinary as well. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so first off, we have to make sure that the product exists. So after connecting to our database, I can just come here and say const product will be equal to await product dot find by id, product dot find by id, and then I'm going to find the product by the id. So if no product, which means that there's nothing found, I'm just going to return an error. Return error, no product found. So the next thing is to check if the user changes the image or not. If the user does not change the image, we're going to update our product without adding an image field, because we already have the image field. So how can we check if the user did not change the product or not? So I'm just going to come here and say if the image dot size is equal to 0, which means that the user did not change the image. So I'm going to come here and update without the image, because we already have the update field in our database. So to do that, I'm just going to say await product dot find by id and update, find by id and update, and then I'll pass in the id and then the other fields, which is name, price, link, and the description, just like this. And then I'm going to return all this code happens if the user did not update the image. So then I'm going to return success, product updated successfully. Now if the user changes the image, so I'm going to put an else statement here. If the user changes the image, first thing I'm going to do is delete the previous image first before adding the new image to Cloudinary. So how do I delete? I can delete by getting the ID of the image. So I'm going to get the ID by saying const paths will be equal to product dot image. Remember, we got this product by saying product dot find by id, and we save this to this product variable here. So product dot image dot split, product dot image dot split. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me get it from my database. Okay, this is my image. Let me copy it, Ctrl C, and then let me paste it. Now we can delete this image by getting this ID here. You can delete this image by getting this ID. So this is what we are trying to extract. We are trying to extract this ID from this full URL, and that's what we're trying to do. So let me show you. So I'm getting the image URL dot split everything, which includes a slash, and then I can come here and say const file name will be equal to parts dot length -1, which will bring out the last one. Sorry. Part.length -1. So now this one will extract the last part, and then I can come here and say const image ID will be equal to image ID will be equal to the file name dot split with the full stop. So I've gotten the last part. The last part is this part. You know, the first time we split with everything including a slash. So now we now extracted the last part, which is this part. So we are trying to remove this .jpg, this extension. We are trying to remove the extension. That is why we are saying split again with a dot. and then you get the first one, which is the real name. So that is your image ID. And then after getting your image ID, you can now delete the image. To delete the image, I'm just going to come here and say Cloudinary .uploader .destroy, and then I'm going to pass in the ID. But then remember that we added this image into a folder, so you need to add that folder as well. So watches is the name of my folder, watches / the image ID, just like this. And then I can say then this is just an additional stuff, get the result, and console.log results to be results, just like this. Then after deleting the image, you are going to come here and get the image processes, everything here, copy it and put it here. Just like this. So with this, you have gotten your update server action. So first thing, we checked if there's an image. So if there's no image, we update without the image. And then if there's an image, which is why I added this else field here, if else, we first delete the previous image and then we add the image to the database. And while storing, you store the new URL. So back to the update form, instead of using the add products, where is it? Instead of using the add action, we are going to use the update action. And then we can clear out this add action here. Now this is giving me an error because we have to add the ID as well. So product ID, just like this. So let's check if we can actually update. So let me click here, update. Then let's check eternal royale 2. This price should turn to 599. Then update product. Product updated successfully. I should be redirected. Yeah. As you can see, it's eternal royale 2 and then 5999, which means it has been updated successfully. The final one we are going to do is deleting a product. So I'm going to show you how to delete a product. We are going to use route handler to delete a product. And just so you know, to update a product, we can actually use route handler as well, but I want to show you how you can do it using server actions. Even to add a product to our database, we can use route handlers for everything. Just like a normal backend, a normal separate backend and a normal separate front end, we can use route handlers for all that. But I just want to show you how you can do it using server actions. Okay, for the delete one now, we are going to be deleting a product based on its ID. So we're going to come here in our API route. Let me close all of this. Let me collapse it rather. App, in my API, in products, and then in this product, where I have this product ID route.ts. You know, this is a get function. I'm going to collapse this. Under this, I'm going to create a delete route handler. Export async function delete. We can add this delete request here because this is a different HTTP request method. Now you cannot have two get requests here. If in case you want to have different requests, let's say you have posts, you can add it here also, or you need and maybe patch request, you can have it inside the same file. Next.js allows you to do that instead of creating multiple files. That is why we are able to add the delete request. But in case you have another get, it won't work. So that is why we can do a delete request inside this one, which already have a get request. I hope that is clear. Now let us continue. Delete, you have your request of type request. And then remember that we need the ID of the product for us to be able to delete. So we're going to get the ID, params promise, get the type of promise and the product ID of type string. I think this should be it. Now the next thing is to connect to our database. So await connect DB, just like this, and then we get the product ID. Const product ID will be equal to await params dot product ID. Now in a try and catch block, inside the try statement, we are going to get the product by fetching the product by the ID. So I'm going to say const product will be equal to await product, our model product dot find by ID. Then you pass in the product ID, and then you check if no products, return a response. Then you pass the message product not found and the status code of 400, status of 400. Now if the product is found, you are just first what we are going to do is to delete the image in Cloudinary first before deleting the data in our MongoDB. So we are going to go to the utils folder in update action.cs, and then we'll have to copy this same code, this code which we use to delete an image in Cloudinary, and then we'll come back to our routes.ts, and then we'll paste it. Now we have to import Cloudinary because Cloudinary is not imported. We have to import Cloudinary. Now after deleting the image, the next we're going to do is to delete from database, and we can do this by saying await the product model dot find by ID and delete, and then you pass in the product ID just like this. Then after deleting, you can give it this a response. So return a response, return response dot JSON message products deleted successfully. And a status code of 200. If there's an error, we just return response dot JSON, give us a message of error dot message and a status code of 400. Then for this, you are going to say the error will be any. Just like this, you have your route handler ready for deleting a product. The next thing is to go to where you have this delete button, so that we can delete the product. So we'll go to the products. We're going to close this API, this product here, and then this page.csx. This is where we have the delete button. So we're going to have an on click. So when click is going to handle delete. And we don't have that yet, so let's create that. So here we can say const handle delete will be equal to create this arrow function. This should be async because we'll be calling the database async, and then here you can just say await, or no, we're going to use Axios rather. Axios, let's say await axios dot delete, and then the id, the URL, which is /API/product, and then the product ID. And then the product ID, we can use params.product ID, just like this. So let us see. And after deleting, we should redirect back to the home page. So router.push back to the home page. So let's see. Let us refresh to be sure that everything is loaded. So we'll click on delete, and I've been redirected to the home page. Let us check if, yeah, we have only two files remaining. But now you can also get the message. Let's see if we passed a message. Let us see in our API after deleting if we passed a message. So let's see. Okay, yes, we passed the message, product deleted successfully, which means that we can extract that. So you can just come here and say const extract the message from this is equals to await axios dot delete, and then you can say toast dot success, and then you pass in the message from React hot toast. Okay, this did not work, so I can come here and say const response, and then I'm going to come here and say response dot data dot message. This should do the trick. Yeah, so with this, I'm just showing you how we can display a toast notification. So with this, you are done with this project. The next thing we have to do is to deploy this so that you can have a live link that you can share with your friends. So first, I'm going to go here in my source control, and I'm going to, let's say, write a commit message, projects completed. I'm going to commit this, and then I can publish branch. So the name, I can call this watches, and publish to a public or private depending on your choice. I'm going to publish to a public so that I can share the link in the description. Uploading files. Let's wait a little bit. Successfully published Emmanuel/watches to GitHub. So let us open this on GitHub. Let's see. Yeah, uploaded successfully. So let us go to vercel.com so that we can deploy our application. Vercel.com, and then you can add a new project. Add new, then project. Now we have to import our Git repository, so I can click on watches, import this, and for my project name I can call this watches. It should remain like that. Then now look at this, you have to add your environment variables here. So you go back to your code in your file, then in this your .env file, click on it, copy everything, and then you come back here and paste it. After pasting it, click on deploy. I'm coming. I have to do that. I cannot show you my secret like I said before. I will do it and I will come back to this video. So I've added my environment variables. I just need to just click on deploy. Deploying. Okay, now we got this error. Use search params should be wrapped in a suspense boundary. Now at search page. Okay, yeah. To get rid of this error, you are going to go back to your page, and then in your search bar here, this page.csx, you are getting this error because of these search params. So you have to create a search component and then add it to the search page. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to create a component which I'm not going to export, so I'm just going to say search component will be equal to an arrow function, just like this. Then everything inside here, inside this search page, I'm going to copy every single thing and paste it in the search component, just like this. And now inside this my search page, I'm going to add a return suspense from React suspense, and I'm going to add the search component here. This suspense will have a fallback, take it back to the home page, or I can just write hello or something. Yeah, I just have a fallback, and now we can save this. Let us check first in our code whether it works. So let me refresh. Sorry, let me check if the search bar works here first before deploying. Yeah, it worked. So let's push this back to GitHub. So we'll come here and say search bar. Let's just put anything for now. You commit the changes, then you publish it. Now let us go back to our vessel and we can redeploy. So congratulations, your project is now deployed. So you can visit your project. So continue to dashboard. Yeah. So this is your domain name. You can change this anytime you want. And yeah, you have your URL here, which you can share with your friends. watches.vessel.app. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe and like. If there's any problem you face during the video or anything you want me to improve on, you can comment. I read all comments. Yeah, thank you for watching.